And we're live. So people are starting to join. So we'll give a quick second. But Joe, I'm happy to hear though, at least that, your jobs weren't stopped. You were able to at least keep moving.
Yeah,
That's important right now, as long as, you could keep that pipeline getting to the sale dates, which is the most important day. That's payday for everyone, right?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I got to keep those jobs moving. Uh, the the thing that did stop for me was the residential. We had a few residential projects, and they kind of stopped. And so today, officially, we restarted the residential projects where we were just doing flips and stuff like that, and where the homes were vacant, right?
Mhm.
So that was the key.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Well, let's introduce you to everybody that's kind of here right now, and we'll kind of get started.
sure.
So, I mean, Joe, you've been in construction since '03, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I mean, you did your first buy and hold back in probably one of the worst or best times, depending on who you are, '08.
yeah,
Um, and you've been heavily in the construction industry side of it. Whether it's a home inspector, whether you're
yep.
doing a fix and flip for yourself, or now even for other people and managing their work.
Hmm.
So, I mean, obviously, you have a lot of information to give off to our attendees right now. They're listening. They want to learn more about this.
Yep.
Today, our topic, is more along the lines of understanding and picking the best contractor for your deal and understanding how to keep them accountable and get the project moving along, which is probably one of the hardest aspects of the deal, if you ask me.
Yeah, I totally agree on that point. Even for myself, right? It's pretty difficult to keep things on schedule, because there's so many different factors in construction, right? You got your own crews, then you have subcontractors, you have homeowners. Well, in some cases, right, you got the homeowner, you got the people that are financing you, usually the homeowner or the investor. So, there's so many things going on. And then you'll also have to deal with the town, materials, making sure you get all your materials on time and things like that. So, a lot of different factors there.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And obviously, I mean, this is kind of the determining factor on how much money you're putting in your pocket. I mean, obviously, it goes based off of, what your expenses are and your costs are.
Yep.
But making sure that you complete the job within your time frame is really what's going to make sure that you're profitable in these case scenarios, because you did your homework based off of comps and what your costs are going to look like,
Yep.
and just making sure that it actually does come out, and really, like the word I use, which is what it is, it's accountable.
Hmm.
Keeping yourself and your contractor accountable. And we'll dive into that, and we'll obviously, what we'll do right now, just to give everyone a heads up on how this is going to play out, we'll take some time, we'll talk a little bit. I'll ask some questions to Joey, and we'll kind of just, bring out the nitty gritty to the construction side.
Yep.
And then we'll leave it open to you guys to ask us your questions. Let us know what problems you're facing that maybe we could help, guide you through, or some parts of the deal that you're just unsure how to even process it and where to start.
Yeah.
So speaking about where to start, Joe, so I mean, obviously a lot of these guys, they find a project, they're going out there, they're house shopping, it's relatively easy to get inside of a house and start looking at it.
Sure.
But now, once you're there, now all of a sudden you have, a home that just it might need a gut renovation. You don't know what's behind the walls. So what's kind of your process? How do you start when you're first walking into a home? What are some of your first steps?
Yeah. So the way I started is a little bit unique, right? I look at it from a sort of like a home inspector point of view. So I got some formal training as a home inspector back in like 2008 or
Mhm.
six. I forget which year, but it was around that time. So it's been a while. So I don't practice as a home inspector any longer, you know, but having that formal education did help me. It did help in terms of what to look for and things like that. So where I usually start out, right, as far as doing like walkthrough, I always start out outside, right? Because when you get to the house, you're outside. So I always look at, first of all, the sidewalks, right? I start looking at the sidewalks, and then I start looking at the land, right? The slope of the property. Is it pitching towards the house? Is it pitching out? And then after that, I look at the house itself, right? So we first start looking at the roof. Is the roof in good shape? Is it old? Does it need replacement? Can it be just washed? So I've done houses where we just washed the roof and instead of replacing the roof.
Right.
So those are some like money saving tips. Okay. And then
Right.
of course, yeah, of course, siding, right? So you wanna give that house a curb appeal. So next thing you look at is siding. I'm not gonna go through all the components, but just to quickly go through some of them. So once you determine, hey, do I have to replace the siding? Is it vinyl or is it, let's say, aluminum siding? A lot of times, aluminum siding, if it's in fairly good shape, I paint it. So I do like a gray paint usually with the white, trim. There's one house I just recently did. We actually did black trims and black gutters, and that came out crazy nice.
That actually sounds really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that house, actually, we sold that house. We never even ended up putting on the MLS. The lady actually bought it before we even put a kitchen in the house.
Wow.
So she saw how nice the floors were, all the trim work that was being done already. She's like, look, I'll take this house, because there was this other house that she was actually bidding on that the same realtor brought her over. And she ended up not getting the other house, which was actually priced higher. And our house should have been priced just as high. But, for us, in terms of like saving time, we ended up just, letting it go fairly cheap, because I think if this house would have hit the market, it would have easily gotten the same price the other house got.
Right.
So yeah, the other house sold for about 405. We ended up selling to her for 375. No negotiation or anything like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening that are, I guess, maybe curious as to why Joey would sell a home for maybe a little bit less than a comp showed, or what it could prove for. I mean, I guess, Joe, you could vouch for this or agree or disagree, but the time it takes to get the property on the market, get the buyer, go through the process, and all that time, I mean, you're spending money, you're hoping a little bit, something could change. I mean, look, coronavirus happened overnight. So anything could happen. So $1 today, that's still a profit. That's a good deal. Is still better than a possibility of $2 tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that house, we sold it in around December 2019. So basically, there was no coronavirus at that time. Well, here anyway, right? And so for us, it was like we were in the interest of saving time, right? We didn't want it to go into January or February the following year, because we would have had to stage it and all that stuff. So we didn't have to stage it. We didn't have to deal with showings or anything like that, because we were kind of previewing the property as we were, just kind of finishing it up. So realistically, it saved us a good probably month and a half to 2 months of holding costs.
For sure.
Which,
for sure. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So we kind of passed that saving to the buyer, and also she didn't give us any issues in terms of, a lot of times with the inspection towards the end, So like, for example, I have a house that I'm selling now, which is under contract. And this was not a fully rehabbed house. So this is a house where we did like a small cosmetic job, but it actually needed, let's say, like $90,000 in rehab. We probably put in about 40 just to, spruce it up a little bit. We didn't put a new kitchen. We didn't do a bathroom. We didn't, there's a lot of things we could have done, but we didn't do in the interest of saving time, number one. Number two, just, because I got lazy. I just had so many projects. I just wanted to get in and out. But also it was because it was in a very nice area. So, we knew that the house would be able to move quickly.
Right.
Regardless of it being not fully rehabbed. you know. So, you know, trying to finish the story here. Basically, the buyer came back to us with like a huge list of stuff, you know, from the home inspection, and they wanted like a $35,000 credit. And you know, my partner and I, we were like, what? Wait a minute. We're like, did you look at the house? You know, we're selling this thing like as is, basically, you know, because so if you want us to pay for a new retaining wall, a new sidewalk, you know, all these other things, you're like, we'd rather just drop you and go to our backup buyer. So we had an over asking offer. So that's why we were able to sort of like leverage ourselves, you know,
Right.
with that. So.
Wow. $35,000 list of
Yeah.
changes.
So in the end, we settled for $2,000.
And how'd you do that? Just by
So
holding the
basically, we
leverage?
just said, hey, look, we're, you know, if you want the house, we can continue. If not, we'll just, you know, cancel the contract and move
Wow.
on to the next buyer. You know, so sometimes you have to be firm.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
and great job. You know, from 35 to 2,000. I mean, that's a win if you ask me any day.
I know.
But
I thought it was ridiculous, first of all, you know.
but I mean, hey, look, you never know. Buyers sometimes will ask something ridiculous just to get a $2,000 credit that they wanted originally. So
Yeah.
sometimes you got to just move a little bit, make them happy, and move to the next.
Yeah, I mean, they went down to 3,000, and then so we offered 1,000 basically. We said,
Right.
look, you know, we'll give you 1,000 for the chimney, right? Because we didn't do a chimney inspection.
Right.
So we'll give you 1,000 for it. And I had a friend of mine give me an estimate for 1,900 to fix the chimney. So I said, look, we'll give you half of that, right?
Right.
And then the attorney came back. He said, look, we're looking for $3,000. And then we said, no, okay, we'll give you 2,000 and that's it. And then he came back again with 2,500. We said, look, we'll walk. So, all right, 2,000. These guys, I'm telling you.
Amazing.
So the lesson is sometimes if you know you have a good product and something that people do want, you got to just be firm.
Right.
Basically.
Absolutely. And that's good. And, you know, something else I took from this, Joey, that, you know, I'm sure a lot of our listeners probably heard as well, is that there are times where a property might need $80,000, $100,000 worth of work, but you could get away with 30, 40, 50. And so absolutely. What are some of the, I guess, what are some contractor hacks that people could use and say, well, you know what, sometimes you don't need to completely change your roof. Like you said, sometimes washing it is fine. So what are some other hacks that people could put into account or keep in the back of their mind to try to save for a rainy day?
Yeah. So a lot of times guys put in like brand new flooring throughout the whole house. Like they'll put all new, let's say hardwood floors throughout the house. You know, I try not to do that as much as possible unless, you know, I have no other choice. But usually, so I'll either refinish the hardwood floors if there's already hardwood floors, and then I'll try to like patch in new hardwood floors. But what we weave it in,
okay,
instead of just, you know, cutting it straight and then, you know, doing a crappy patch. So we weave it in, and it looks like it's continuous. It looks like it was always there, and then we refinish the hardwood floors. The other thing is I've been using a lot of vinyl lately. So the houses that are, let's say, under 750,000, vinyl is really the way to go in a lot of places. You know, we sold a $850,000 house, and basically like the basement we did vinyl. Right. The other three, first, second, and third floor, we did all real hardwood. You know, so
right.
So you know, there's always places to kind of like cut or cheat a little bit.
Right.
You know, yeah.
But it's also important, obviously, not to cheat the whole project, because then you're put into a position where you may not have a product as secure or good as, you know, what you're offering.
Absolutely, yeah. No, you don't want to cheap out, especially especially if you find a good contractor and they have good workmanship. You don't want to cheat them, right? You want to keep them and even pay a little more, which really goes against what a lot of investors think about, because they're always coming in and saying, hey, listen, I have 5 projects, 6 projects, and if you do this project for half the price, I'll give you the other 3.
Right.
But so I've been approached a lot in the past with these things, because before I started doing my own flips, I was working for other, flippers, right? So that's how I learned a lot of the tips and tricks,
Right,
so to speak, right? Because all these guys that are doing, 50 houses, I have one guy I've done work in the past. I no longer do work for him, only his personal house now. But yeah, back then, we were doing, flips for the guy, and he would come in with the crew to paint. And these guys, they would slap the paint on, after we did like a really, really nice job as far as, framing the house, sheetrocking it, making the spackle real nice, sanding it. And they would come in and slobber the paint all over the place, and the paint would be dripping on the wall and things like that. And I'm like, oh my God, you just made all my hard work look like shit. So.
Yeah, man, you're like an artist in this case. You're finishing a product, and you kind of want to see it look good.
Yeah. So.
For sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So Joe, tell me. So we talked about, obviously, there are ways to, cut and save, but obviously don't cut everywhere. Make a good product.
Right.
Now you also mentioned, keeping your contractors happy.
Yeah,
This is a huge conversation that I have with a lot of investors. They either they don't know how to make them happy, or they want to try to find something more structured for them, because they're just all over the place. Investors are just, they're entrepreneurs. They don't have a structure to their day.
Right.
So they want to keep their contractors, who should be structured, happy. What are some? You use hard money, right?
Yes.
For your projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you're probably on a draw system.
Correct.
Great. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit for some of the attendees and explain to them how you use the draw structure to your advantage, and how you make it work, and keep them accountable for their work and not paying them in advance?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the contractors, they usually come and ask you for a down payment a lot of times.
Right.
And in some cases, it's kind of unavoidable, right? You have to kind of give them a down payment, but it's really how much down payment you give them. That's really the key, right? You don't want to give, let's say, for example, I'm working with a brand new electrician that I've never worked with in the past, right? Mm-hmm. And he came to me the other day. Actually, it's not true. I didn't work with him. This is the 3rd project I'm doing with him. Okay. But this is the first large project I'm doing with him. The other projects were fairly small. They're like $1,000, $2,000. Right. So I have, so for a project that's $1,000, I have no issue giving him half the money, right? But now we're talking, this is not a huge project. It's like a $4,500 project. And I told him, look, I'm not going to give you half. Okay. I can't give you half. I'll give you a third. Basically, I'm going to pay you a third. And the way I structure a third is, when he starts the work, I give him a third. When he passed the rough inspection, the day he passed, I'll give him the other third. So now he has basically 65% of, the project. But the end, the final, as far as electrical is concerned, isn't that much. It's putting in outlets and things like that. So there's not a huge amount of money that he has to lay out, and also that I have to lay out as well. So so that's why I leave that last third when he's completely done and the final inspection is done. All right. So that makes sure he's going to come back for that last third.
Gotcha. So you're walking the property, making sure all the outlets are covered, all the handles are on, all the little details are finished before you release that last payment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And
after you pay him, it's probably going to be tough.
Yeah. So a lot of times, the way I explain to a lot of these contractors is the draw system, right? So because I always tell them, look, I'm getting this money because a lot of these guys don't know what hard money is. So I just tell them the bank, right? So I tell them, look, I'm getting this money from the bank. So I would have to come out of my own pocket right now in order to give you a down payment. So that's kind of how I explain to them. And then afterwards, once you pass this inspection, then I have to get the bank to come back out and do another inspection, a draw inspection.
Right.
You know, and then they kind of understand, oh, okay, you know, this is how it's going to work. And I tell them, look, this money is pretty much guaranteed as long as you do the work. It's not like it's sitting in my account and me not paying you. So, you know, I let them understand that money is reserved for you. Okay. So now, you know, they have that little bit of like security, and they know, okay, well, Joe is not going to run off with my money,
Right.
you know, because
Bank.
that money is going to come from the bank. So you kind of let them know that, right? So once they understand that, it's a lot easier, you know. And then also at the same time, it's very important you do what you say you're going to do, you know, even though sometimes the subcontractors, they don't do what they say they're going to do. But if you say, hey, listen, let's meet at 11 a.m. for an appointment to go over the work or the scope of work or whatever it is, you be there at 11 o'clock, you know. So being punctual, just basic stuff. It's not rocket science, just basic stuff, being on time. If you say you're going to pay them, you know, a certain amount, you pay them that amount. You know,
Right.
don't drag it on, you know, unless you really don't have the money in your account. But if you do have the money, pay the people, you know. These guys are basically doing this for a living, you know. Nobody comes out to the job thinking, I'm going to rip this guy off. You know, everybody always starts a job with good intentions.
Right.
And the biggest thing is that the way you prevent being screwed is you have to be thorough. You know, so when you walk a job, you have to really tell them what you're looking for. I know it's a lot harder if you're brand new and you don't even know what you're looking for. So when you're brand new, you want to lean on them. Ask them for their opinion. You know, hey, this wall, what do you think we should do on this wall here? You know, give me your opinion on what we should do in the house. You know, since we're on electrical, you know, what do you think we should do? Should we replace all the outlets? You know, do we upgrade the panel? What do you think the panel, you know, do you think the panel looks good? Will it pass inspection? Things like that, you know, just ask them questions.
Right. Because they have the knowledge. They do this every single day. They know what looks like it's about to blow and what looks like, well, actually, this looks pretty decent. We could clean this up and get it up and running again.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, the guys that you really want are the guys that will give you like good opinion. You know, you don't want a guy that will walk through the house with you and not say a word. You know, they'll just keep going. You know, I've had a lot of those kind of guys. You know, we walk through the house, and you know, so I'm gonna try to stay as quiet as possible and let them talk. You know, see, so that way you know what you see, kind of like what they're seeing by them telling you, right? When we're working through, and they're like, oh, there's a hole in the floor, you should fix the floor. You know, there's a hole in the ceiling, fix the ceiling. These lights, you should, you know, change them to LED. You know, you should move your fridge here. You know, guys that have these kind of opinions, it also shows that they have some kind of knowledge too.
right, and it shows that they care enough to even point them out. You know,
Right,
you
exactly.
want someone that's going to care about your project and give it the attention it deserves.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that's really important as well.
Yeah. And
And
then
yeah,
one thing I should point out to a lot of investors is don't always talk about, hey, I only have this much budget, like we have a limited budget. Every time I speak to a newer or investor,
Mhm.
they always tell me we have a limited budget. I'm like, well, who set the budget? You set the budget, right? So you limit it yourself. I didn't set your budget. You set it.
For sure. So,
Yeah.
so what do you recommend there? So how should someone properly come up with a budget?
So that's a really tough one, right? So you have to sort of prioritize what you want to do, right? Are you looking to completely rehab the house? Are you looking to basically start, what I mean? Do you want to just do cosmetics, or are you like basically rehab the whole house completely, right? So then the toughest ones are the cosmetic rehabs, right? Where you're just coming in and you really need to do the whole house, but you only have, let's say, 40,000, kind of like what we just did, right? We have like a $40,000 budget where we set that number, and we know really the house needs 90,000, right? So we're like, okay, so we're just gonna clean up the walls and refinish the floors so that it looks decent, right? And then we're gonna tell them, look, this is like a 203K or a first-time home buyer home, where the kitchen is acceptable. It's not brand new. Where in a few years you're gonna have to replace the cabinets and everything, but the bathroom is functional. Again, in a few years you're gonna have to redo the bathroom. So you're gonna buy this $500,000 house for $375. So we're basically leaving you plenty of equity to go ahead and do these repairs in the future.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you have to pick and choose what you're gonna do, So sometimes I would probably just do the kitchen and leave everything else crappy.
Right. Because the kitchens and bathrooms apparently sell houses.
Yeah, yeah. But it really depends on the condition it is when you walk into it. Like if the doors are falling off and things like that, then you have no choice. You got to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend then to someone who's brand new, never done a rehab before? Maybe they remodeled their own home, but now they want to go ahead and get an actual budget that makes sense, because they don't want to come back with a budget that's going to be too high, that is going to leave no profit in the deal, but they don't want to come in either with a budget that's too low and not going to get the job done.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
I mean, what would be, obviously we know, get a contractor involved, step one, but what are some other things you could give them? Maybe I'll let you give some ideas.
Yeah, of course. Definitely try to get, 2 to 3 reputable contractors. So the way to find it, right, that's kind of like the whole key to tonight, is the first way I would approach it is I talk to friends, right? Because I know a lot of rehabbers and things like that. So I talk to friends, I talk to active rehabbers, guys that are doing maybe 1, 2, 3, 10 deals a year, right? That's a lot. That's like 1 a month. So I talk to these guys, even if I don't know them, I would reach out to them, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Reach out to them and just say, hey, Mike, who are you using to do your floors? Who are you using as far as a general contractor to come in and give me an estimate? Things like that. So that's the first way I would do it, and if you strike out, let's say nobody gives you a good a referral, or those guys are not available, or something like that, then the next way I would do it is I would go to, depending on what you're looking for, I would go to, like, let's say Home Depot or Lowe's very early, not like at 10 a.m. I would go early, around like 6:30, 7 a.m. because those guys are out, they're working.
Right.
So go early and see the guys that have nice trucks, the guys that are buying a lot of material, people, the guys that are like presentable, right? You see like 2, 3, 4 guys that have the same uniforms, go and talk to those guys, right? Talk to them, ask them a lot of questions. Hey, do you do jobs for flippers? Do you only do work for homeowners? Where do you work? Things like that. Do you guys have insurance, right? So, ask a lot of questions. And then if you can't find anybody there, of course, you can always find guys online, right? So that's the third step. Go online. So online is going to be people you haven't met yet. So there are plenty of online resources, right? Angie's List, for example, is one. It's a little bit more, I think, like stringent to get on Angie's List. Home Advisor, that was one of the. They used to be called Service Magic. I don't know if you know. Years ago, when I first started, back in like 2003 and 4, I was on Service Magic, and I would get jobs from Service Magic. You would buy a lead from Service Magic, depending on what type of lead. So let's say I bought an addition project, right? So I would buy the lead for $150, and then they would give me the name, phone number, and address of the lead. You go there, you give them your bid, plus like 5 other guys. So you're competing with a lot of guys. So that's a good source, to find somebody. And then most of these guys are vetted, so they gotta have insurance. They gotta have, because they won't just throw them on their website, and then they're gonna have reviews also. So one thing I kind of glossed over was, get references, so like I said, the best way, the first way was getting it direct, right? Or you go direct to the reference, like I was saying, you go to the investor friend and stuff like that. That's basically a direct referral, right? So you get it from those people. And then so like I said, Angie's List, there's like Thumbtack. There's so many online services that are for contractors. So and then obviously they have reviews. Like for example, myself, I'm on houzz.com, right? I'm like a approved, or I don't even know what kind, like some kind of approved contractor on there. Yeah, and so basically, if you go on there, you'll see pictures of my work and reviews, So I know on there I have like 7 5-star reviews. It's just because I'm lazy, to get clients. I should have like 50, but whatever. I'm not gonna chase after my clients for reviews. So so that's
like Amazon. You're looking for reviews. You want to know that somebody has used this person before and had a good experience, because that's what you are looking for as the investor.
Yeah, exactly. And then once in a blue moon, you kind of take a chance on somebody that's new. Let's say somebody that's just getting started in the business. Like I do that. I take chances sometimes on new people. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it backfires, and then I have to fire them in the end. But I tell them up front, look, this is what I expect. This is how long I think the project should take. This is basically, you give me the budget. I never give them the budget, because they ask me, hey, what's your budget? So like in real estate, right? The first person to tell them the price loses.
That's it.
Right? So if let's say I have a budget of 40,000 and this guy comes in at 30, I'm gonna go with his number. Unless I think it's unrealistic and not doable. If I have a budget of 40,000 and he says 15, and I know there's no way in hell 15,000 is gonna work, I'm gonna tell him, hey, listen, I'd rather give you 25 to try to finish the job rather than give you 15 and you'll never finish. and then you're gonna hit me up with change orders and all kinds of excuses, and then you're gonna get tired of the job and just gonna walk away. Basically, you're gonna take my $5,000, and you won't even get your next 5,000 basically.
Right.
And
And
I gotta look for somebody else.
that brings up a really interesting point, because a lot of the times I'll see or I'll hear from some of my investors that Max, I called up 3 contractors and I got 3 completely different numbers.
Absolutely.
And they don't even know what to do anymore, because one is like, I'll give you an example of one I spoke to the other day. He had a bid that came in at 20, a bid that came in at 50, and one that came in at 85. And he's like, if I got 2 at 20, at least I would know that's the right way. If I got 2 closer to 85, I know that would be the right way. But he goes, I have no idea what to do right now.
Right. So one thing, as far as advice, right, to new investors, contractors, is basically create your scope of work. So you distribute that piece of paper to everybody. So now everybody's pricing the same thing.
Right.
Every time you have a conversation with each guy, have the same exact conversation. Don't tell one guy to install vinyl floor, tell the next guy, I want hardwood floor, and then the third guy, I want tile in the room. Tell them all the same thing. That's the big key. A lot of investors, they really don't know what they want either. So they're not really well prepared. Like, they haven't invested the time. They're waiting for the contractor to give them the scope of work, which shouldn't really be that way. They should be telling the contractor what to do. They're the boss.
Right.
So they're the one that's supposed to be creating that scope of work. It's pretty easy. You just go room by room, right? So you would go to, let's say, living room, okay? Living room, okay, I got a damage in the corner. I got this, I want to replace the crown molding, things like that. So now this room is done. Okay. Now you go, so you create like a list of a general list that you want done throughout the whole house. Okay. I want the entire house painted. I want all new flooring through the whole house. So now you don't got to repeat that every single room. The only time you want to repeat that is if you don't want that in a certain room, right? So let's say laundry room, I want to put tile instead of vinyl, for example.
Right.
So you just make some exceptions here and there. You go through every room, and then you create that list. And then you give that same list to all 3 parties. Now everybody's bidding on the same thing. You know where I learned this? I used to bid government jobs. So we would do like schools, historical buildings, and things like that. Nice. And when the government gives you a job, they really prepare. Like, they'll give you like a freaking 100-page blueprint, and like 70% of it is all repeat. Okay, and then when the bid form is real simple, really simple. They'll say doors X amount, windows X amount, moldings X amount. Kind of like the same thing you would have on your like your scope of work bid sheet, right? Same exact thing, but the only thing is, on the other page, it'll give you detail. Like, okay, everybody, I want you to use 2 1/4 inch base molding. I want you to use, 5-inch crown. I want you to use certain item. So everything's kind of specified, right?
They call it a specification, right?
Yeah. So everybody's using the same exact material.
Right.
So there's no question, right? Everybody's using vinyl floors,
so that everyone's building the same thing. It's like, you're not,
yeah.
I guess what you're trying to say is, like, you don't want to have one guy building you a Toyota and one guy building you a BMW, and then wondering why you got a $20,000 charge and a $100,000 charge.
Yeah.
Keep it consistent, keep a basic outline of the project. And I guess this would lead me to one of, I guess, our last questions, and I'll let you share a little bit more if there's anything else in your mind before we go to question and answer. But I guess my last question would be is, so now you do approximately how many jobs a year? Like,
I do probably, I would say like 25, 30 jobs a year.
wow.
Yeah.
Great. So now on all these 25 to 30 jobs, do you already know before you walk into that house, maybe not exactly, but what you're going to do to the property? Like, well, these are the tiles that I'm going to use when I need tile. These are the hardwood I need. And how does so are you kind of just duplicating the same process over and over again, or is it completely new every time?
No. Definitely is the first way you said it, right? I keep my process exactly the same. So every single time I come in, I use the same exact paint, every single house. So all my house, for example, the siding is a dark blue. The front door is red. My shutters are always black. So I have all my like color scheme down. So like, for example, my front door is called No More Drama. It's red, right? By Bear Paint, right? Yeah. So I have the same exact thing, like if I use, the only thing that I deviate a little bit is when the price of the home, so if the home is priced a little higher, I try to use slightly better material. Okay. If I'm on a like real strict budget, then I go down a notch in terms of material. The only things that really do change is sort of the vanities. The kitchens always look the same. It's always white shaker style door, shaker style cabinets.
Right.
So the countertops do change, again, depending on the price of the home. So any house that's gonna be 300,000 and up, I'm gonna put quartz. Anything below 300,000, I'm gonna buy you like a cheap granite, but still look nice.
Right. Understood. So
So
you're kind of flowing with the area and the market and making sure that, and I'm sure you're looking at the comps also when you're doing this to say, well, what does my neighbor have? Why did they sell for that 300,000?
Absolutely. Yeah. Comps is really important for us. We dive into the comps like crazy. We don't just like look at it. Oh, okay, these houses are 375. We go in, we look at the pictures too. We scroll through the pictures. So obviously we have access to MLS. So we go in, we scroll through, we really dive in and we analyze. We look at it and say, oh, all these homes are fully renovated. These are the color schemes they're kind of doing. We kind of have that same exact color scheme.
Right.
Whereas like if the houses are not fully renovated, like the whole neighborhood is not fully renovated, then we probably won't fully renovate ours either, just to stay in line, in terms of the price.
You want to give the market what it's asking for.
Exactly.
Not too much, not too little. You want to be fair to whoever's buying the property. That makes a lot of sense. So before we open up into question and answer, is there anything else that you want to share with our group, our attendees that are listening in right now?
No, nothing in particular. Okay. If I think of anything during the webinar, when the Q&A,
yeah, absolutely. So I'll start off with this first one. By the way, guys, anyone who has any questions, put it in the chat. It's a great place to keep it. I'll ask one right now that's open in the question and answer section though. So what are the inspections, parentheses, how much of a pain in the ass, like before the drawers are given? So I'm not sure I understand that completely. Do you, Joe?
I'm not sure either. So there's two types of inspections usually. Well, there's a few types, right? So there's a draw inspection where, the inspector is going to come out, look at the house, see what percentage of the work you did before, before Max, releases the funds to you, right? Then there's the municipal, inspections, right? The building inspector, the plumbing, electric, fire. So that's another one. And then the other one, obviously, is the home inspection before you, purchase the house, and then after you, when you have it under contract to sell.
Right.
So those are the three types of inspections. So you can give us more clarity
Yeah.
on
So
each
Ken,
one.
if you have a specific inspection that you have a question on, please do elaborate and we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
We got another one from another Ken. So who is a good supplier for cabinets? I've been using Home Depot and Lowe's thus far. Is there a better option?
Absolutely, Ken. So I sell kitchen cabinets. So the other thing we didn't mention is I own a kitchen cabinet company. So I can give you the information. Actually, I'll give you the information right now. It's really easy. It's purchasecabinets.com. So, you know,
I'm gonna
plug
put
for
that in the
myself,
comments for anyone who missed that. It's purchase.
cabinets.com.
And let's make sure this goes to everybody. Awesome. So if anyone needs it, it will be in the comments, and we'll also make sure to email it with a copy of the webinar to everyone who attended. I was talking about the hard money. Okay, so Ken is coming back and explaining that he was talking about the hard money draw inspector. So I guess it's better if they hear from you because I'm on the side that's releasing the funds. So what is that like? Is that a
So that the hard money draw inspections are fairly simple. A lot of times, you know, when you come out, right, they're gonna ask you to pay them their fee. So it's usually depending on who you're using, you better be using Max. But between 150 to 250 usually is the hard, you know, inspection fee. So a lot of these guys usually are a home inspector or an appraiser. So they'll come out, look at your property, and depending on what you put in terms of your percentage done, they're basically just gonna just say yay or nay, right? They're gonna put, let's say you put like everything 60% done, but yet you're only 30% done on a lot of stuff. So basically they're gonna walk through the property with you and just kind of go check through the items, right? Oh, okay, you put in all your windows, now you're 100% done on the windows. You know, you put 100% on the cabinets, and the guy's like, where's your cabinets? You didn't even order cabinets yet. He'll put 0. You know, so it really depends on that, just walking through and kind of explaining your reasoning,
right?
you know, for each percentage.
For sure.
That's
For
it.
sure.
You
So
know,
I mean,
yeah, they're there to help you. You know, they're also making sure that you're not taking too much as far as your draws as well, because you know I'll admit I'm guilty of that. You know, sometimes I'll go through almost the whole job without taking a single draw, and sometimes, you know, we're low on funds, so we'll ask for draws like crazy.
right. And
So
then you
I've been on both
approve
ends of the
everything.
spectrum. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I hope I answer your question.
For sure. And yeah, and it's really important to understand that, you know, I'll just add one thing from the lender perspective. You know, us as a lender and you as an investor, and I say this often and I will say this a million times as much as I need to, we are the only people that do not get paid until there's a profit. We're in this together. So as your funder, as the person that's funding the project, we want nothing more than to give money towards the draws. We want that to be completed as quickly as possible, as fast as possible. And we need it done, bottom line, right?
Yeah.
So that is where, you know, we're both on the same page. And as long as, if there's ever a time where we're not going to fund something that wasn't done or anything like that, it's totally not personal. It's making sure that what's best for the deal happens, because like from all this conversation, we don't want to release more to a contractor than he's done. And then, you know, it doesn't get done. And 2, also, we don't want you to be in a situation where you start having to request, you know, 1 million draws and have them all come in, you know, nonstop, and so to say. So I'm really happy to hear that. We got another question from Mike. Do you think
What's up?
Mike Rosa. Okay, so it sounds like you know him. So do you think you became a more effective investor because of your contracting experience? And when did you decide to make the switch between contracting for others and flipping for yourself?
So I'm just gonna give a quick shout out to Mike. Mike is a great contractor himself. So he's looking to become an investor as well, right? Mike does work for me as well, so of course, and a lot of my contractor friends. So um, you don't really even need to do a lot of how do I say, like asking around for contractors. All you got to do is call Mike.
He
Is
just
that
knows
good?
everybody.
So anyway, the transition. So I've always been doing work for investors, right? I was telling you, you know, so I started doing work for investors early on as a contractor. But the thing I didn't know early on was the financing part. So for me, it was always like, I always thought you had to like save up your 20% and then get your 80% from the bank. That's how I always thought investing was. That's how I did my first deal. You know, I saved basically, well, I didn't save up the 20%. I had a partner, he put 10% down, and then he had a friend that I borrowed the 10% from back in 2008. That's how I did it. So I had zero out of pocket there. So it was like the beginning of creative financing without knowing it.
Right.
Right. So that's how I was able to do my first deal with no money. But when did I? So for me, that was my first deal, like back in 2008, right? It was kind of like by accident. It wasn't something where like I thought to myself, I want to become a real estate investor. You know, a lot of people
Yes.
always. Sorry, go ahead. What did you
No.
say?
So what made you say yes to that opportunity? What got you?
It was actually my partner, my business partner. You know, so I had a business partner in construction at the time. You know, I had a partner from basically 2000, I want to say 2005 to 2011. Basically 2006 to 2011, I had a partner in my construction business. So he used to work for me, and then I was in a lot of debt at that time. And you know, basically he kind of bailed me out of debt. So I gave him 40% of my business at that time. And we were talking about, you know, doing more business or some kind of business, you know, because we were doing pretty well in terms of the construction and making money at that time. So you know, he wanted to like expand, but I was kind of like conservative, you know, I wanted to just play it safe, you know.
Right.
I had just gotten married, so I didn't want to go crazy because, you know, at that time, the wedding and all kinds of stuff, I was broke.
Sure. The headache alone.
Right. So, yeah, it wasn't something like I decided, you know, and it just kind of grew over the years, like that passion.
Wow.
For real estate.
That's,
So the first one, it was just by accident, really.
wow. Look at that. That's awesome because, you know, it's, you know, a lot of people, you know, they feel like everything comes from what they're doing. And they don't realize that whether they're attended a networking event or, like you said, they went to Home Depot one day, even if it's for their own personal house, like you can meet somebody and for all you know, a year later, you're business partners with them. You flipped a couple of houses and now you're in a completely different place. And it's really cool to see, honestly. I feel like real estate really does that to a lot of people. It connects the dots and really brings a lot together, which, you know, is kind of the reason why I fell in love with it myself.
Yeah.
But now, so this is actually a really interesting question. I like this one a lot. If a contractor seems hungry, do you internalize that silently as desperate, or do you see that as a positive?
Personally, I think that's positive in a way, right? It kind of depends on that person, you know. So if it's somebody that's that you could see is hungry, where they're not just like coming after your money or just like looking to sort of scam you, I think is good.
Okay.
Right. So, like if you're, so what, for example, when I was starting out as a contractor, so before I became a contractor, I was a kitchen designer. So that's where the kitchen cabinet business kind of comes in. So I was selling kitchen cabinets back in like 2002. Okay. I was still in college. And basically, I was hungry, right? I was like, I would, for example, like people would come in, purchase a measurement for the company to go out and measure their kitchen. And I noticed like there's a whole stack of measurements where the customers haven't come back yet to find out what's the status, right? They would do the measuring guy would go out, he'll draw the floor plans, and we'll have it in our file. And at that time, I was brand new. I didn't really know how to do much, but I went into that file and I started calling all these customers up, and I would book appointments. I would, obviously try to book myself first, but some of them had a preference because, they came to see a certain designer.
Okay.
So, but then all my coworkers started noticing. They're like, damn, how did you fill up with so many appointments all of a sudden? And I was like there, 3 months or something like that, so that's, being hungry and just doing what other people don't do.
Right.
Just going out there. Yeah.
So I guess what you're trying to say is the hunger doesn't define whether it's a good or a bad thing. The hunger is something that should be there regardless for someone new in the industry. And
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to look at, what they're saying and seeing if it makes sense and even plausible before you start to go down that route.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people, especially customers, they take it negatively though, when you're too hungry or too eager.
Right.
Because they think like, oh, you have no work, there must be something wrong.
Right.
And then there are some people that will give you a chance, especially like when I first started out. I know a lot of people that gave me a chance, and some of these clients are still with me today. So it's crazy.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with being new at all.
No,
Every industry has
even
it.
if you're
A
new,
realtor, a contractor, an attorney. Everyone starts out fresh. It's a matter of really, I would say for me, communication, loyalty, responsibility. So there's a lot of obviously things that come into play, and don't just base it off of the fact that someone's new. Obviously account for it, but don't base that completely.
yeah.
We got another one. I don't want to go too long. I know everyone's kind of has a place to be. They have dinner probably coming up soon.
Yep.
But we'll get into this one. So for someone new in the game, is it easier to save money if you hire a specialist for each thing? So all your subs, pretty much you're playing GC?
Yeah.
Or is it better to just hire a GC to do everything?
It depends on the project itself. So if you have a little bit of experience, so I know OV, and I think I know which project he's talking about. So if it's truly like, if you have the time and if you have the time to invest into that project, then I would say, by all means go for it. But you have to remember to fill in all the gaps. Meaning, especially if you're going to play GC, you have to know basically that you don't forget the electrician, and you need to know when the electrician needs to come versus when the plumber needs to come. So that's something where the GC knows, okay, I'm going to come in. I know I need to demo first. And then after demo, I'm going to frame. After I finish framing, I'm going to send my plumber in. After the plumber is done, I'm going to send my HVAC guy in. And then after that, I'm going to send my, electrician. So
Right.
just knowing the steps to the process, also basically getting a good grasp on who's doing what each person's responsibilities are, because you know, let's say you bring in the plumber before the framer is done, and you know, then the plumber drills through your beams, but you're supposed to put a beam first before he drills through that beam. You know, just little details like that.
And
You
just
have
know
to, yeah, you just gotta know
first.
some of these things, you know, so that it's a little more dangerous,
For sure. For
you
sure.
know.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a, a big learning curve that way. So obviously, base it off of what you know a little bit too. If this is your first time ever doing a rehab and you don't know what comes first,
Mhm.
it sounds like you're saying probably best not to GC it and have someone else do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are people that do it and very successful at it, even though they're brand new.
Mm-hmm.
But it the less subcontractors you have, the better.
Right.
You know, there's less coordinating, there's less, like I said, things falling through the cracks.
Right.
You know, so when something does fall through the cracks, you know, who's gonna handle that? You know, are you able to basically, you know, put everybody together and talk to everybody? You know, so that's basically what it is.
For sure. For sure.
Mhm.
Well, it's about that time. We're at 7 o'clock. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to let everybody get to what they're doing. But I just want to make sure everyone understands, if you need a kitchen, someone to help you with a project, if you have a project you're working on and you want to, call Joey and get some opinion and have him do contracting work, he can definitely be reached. Where could they call you at?
Yeah, so I'm readily available on Facebook. On Facebook, Joey Chan, and I'm on Instagram at NJ House, the numerical 4 cash. That's basically where I'm at.
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram.
And you do a great job on Facebook. I gotta say, like in networking in general, I guess is just your thing. Whether it's going to the events, the live events like Nick Tangs and all those,
Yeah.
being on Facebook, you're just all over the place. You're known within the community, and that's I thank you for that, and I'm sure a lot of other people have learned a lot from you and maybe even motivated by you to get involved, which is a really awesome thing. So guys, keep in mind, Joey, he's your guy. Kitchens, contracting, give him a call, reach out to him. And another thing that we actually spoke about today, which I thought was really awesome, is that Joey will also do a joint venture with you if you have a project. Obviously, he'll want to look at it and make sure it's within his wheelhouse. But if you have a project that you think would be a good fit and you're looking for someone with experience to make sure that it's profitable and watch through it all, definitely reach out to him. A great resource, great source of knowledge as well. And if you need anything as far as financing, here at Express Capital Financing, who's I'm representing, I'm actually one of the owners there. We're a family-based company. We do hard money, mortgages. We're still lending right now. We never stopped. We're taking a consultative approach where we want to help and service your deal, not just give it the money that it needs, because we want you to be successful and we want you to grow. I can't even explain this enough, how I tell people, if you're going to do hard money for one deal, the only thing you're leveraging is risk. The only thing. You're spending a lot of money to stay away from risk, which is worth it for a lot of people. But the real power, the real value comes from when you're building a business off of this. When you're going to have property coming in, property going out, property hitting the market, all in the same week. And that's what we're here to help you do. That's what we're here to help you grow. And if you guys have any questions, you could reach out to us as well. We're on Facebook, Express Capital Financing. You could follow me as well, Max Chira. Not as popular as this guy on Facebook, but I'm working on it. Guys, I appreciate all your time. Joey, it's been a lot of fun. I thank you for everything. It's always a pleasure catching up with you and talking, and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, definitely. No, I just want to say, guys, that I basically brought my business to the next level once I discovered hard money. So I actually just started investing in 2017, right? Well, using hard money, I shouldn't say started investing, but I started investing with hard money in 2017. Prior to that, I would do a deal here, a deal there, every year or so. But after I got into hard money, we're doing like 10, 12 deals a year, with hard money. So, it's crazy. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, hey, we'd love to have one of the attendees on here next, sharing their experiences and what they learn. And that's what this real estate industry is all about. There are not many industries you could get into where there's so many professionals who are doing this on a daily basis that'll take the time and really explain and give that source of knowledge. So, hey, hats off to everyone in our industry. I think we're top of the line, and we're going to keep doing this until we can.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, so sorry. One more quick thing.
Go for it.
Especially about sharing, right? As a contractor, there's not a lot of guys that actually share. The contractor community is really, really different, right? I never really got into the contractor community. The guys, they don't really share their trade and stuff like that. Whereas the home investor community is really unique, where, guys, they think of each other as friends, partners, and things like that. Whereas the investor community, not the contractor community, they think of each other as competition. So I'm not going to tell my competition how to do certain things, how to do certain shortcuts and, things like that, or where to buy the best cheapest material and things like that.
Yeah, because that's their skill, that's their trade,
Yeah.
That's their dollar. And hey, look, every industry needs to keep their secrets, so to say.
Yeah,
we're happy we're here giving off whatever we can to our attendees, our new guys, our seasoned guys, because there's never enough mistakes, and you've never experienced everything in real estate. I could promise you that. I'm not, I'm only in real estate now since I'm 20. I've been licensed since 20. So I guess I'm in here for about 7 or 8 years now. And I know that every day I am just, oh, you haven't seen this one yet.
Yeah, you learn something new every day. Every day. I mean, I'm quick story. I'm selling this one deal, and we were in and out of contract like 5, 6 times. They'll give us a price. We'll okay it, get it under contract. Oh no, we need a lower price. Great deal. Somebody else comes in, do the same thing 5 times now. Hopefully this one is cross our fingers. This one is the one that'll close.
Hey, amen. You have my prayers with that one, but I know you won't need it. I know you guys know what you're doing and have it under control. But Joey, again, we appreciate you and your time and your knowledge. Thank you so much. And please, guys, reach out to him, reach out to us with any questions you might have. We're always here to help and make sure we get you to your goals of financial freedom. Bye-bye for now, guys.
Thanks, guys.